So in this video, I'm going to compare Gemini to ChatGPT, which I've mainly used across these years. I've never actually used Gemini before, but I've heard very good things about it. So today I'm going to compare what it's like to use Gemini in everyday tasks compared to what I've mainly used over the past couple of years in my everyday life. So here what you see on the screen is on the left side, I have Gemini. On the right side, I have ChatGPT open. Both these are free versions, so you will see the same results if you try it yourself as well. This is recorded at December. This is just for you to keep in mind that these models do improve, and we know that in this AI race, each model has its own kind of time in the pedestal of being the best. Right now, I hear a lot of buzz around Gemini, so I just wanted to check it out. Let's see what's going on. So first I will check what use cases for everyday life is each of these models best used for. So if we do see that Gemini is taking a little bit longer than ChatGPT, probably because I'm using the thinking version. So Gemini did give a little bit nicer formatting. So that's easy on the eyes, that's good. Yeah, so if we look, they are similar, but I realize what would be more helpful is if it gives prompts that I can ask it. So give them a good shot to give something useful. Give prompts that I can ask for each use case to get the most useful outcomes. Let's see what comes out of it. Okay, so it gave the outcome, and when I'm looking at it, they are very similar. For example, planning and organization, which is the same as the life admin. Planner for Gemini. There's the editor, which GPT missed, but if we ask more, it's gonna give that answer. Brainstorming, which is similar to decision making, simulator. So even if it gave different answers, I think it would be pretty interesting to compare both of them against these. So what I'll do is I'll create a list of questions to ask both of them. Gemini did give better prompts, very specific, good prompts. I guess it's the thinking version that gives it such a good structure to its answers, because these are like genuinely good prompts. ChatGPT, it gave very simple ones, okay? Like they still could work, they still could do the trick, but it's not as convincing. Alright, so what I'll do is I'll put all of these in my notepad just to then be able to copy them. So, okay, I can already tell you, just as I'm making this list, I'm giving this first point to Gemini already. I didn't even plan to give points for this. The answers that Gemini gives is just way more useful. So Gemini even explained a method to use in prompts to get the most out of it. The context, request, and format method. And I'll actually use this method. I'll actually try it out. Okay, so I compiled enough categories, most of which I would actually use in everyday life, some of which I usually don't. And hey, turn to, let's say, YouTube or some of the content creators that I watch. For example, on strategic or tactical advice on how to achieve something, how to reach something, how to do something that is goal oriented and long term. But maybe the models are already advanced enough that some of these could give me a believable answer. This is also not going to be a scientific approach. This is more just a casual, let's try it out. If it works for me, it might also work for you. So let's see. I might also adjust some of these prompts to my specific situation. Here you can see that we have quite a few to test out. So let's get to it. I actually wonder, here it gave a very elaborate answer, but what if I use the fast version in Gemini, not the thinking version that we had before? Will it give a much different answer? No, it basically kept it the same. This is still very good. So for fairness, I will use the fast version from now on in Gemini, even though you can use the thinking version just to compare, because I think ChatGPT uses a fast version as well. So let's just be fair in this experiment. Okay, I'm just gonna give both of them a bit of context about myself. I'm a young professional living in the Netherlands, in the North Holland region. I'm actively using productivity apps and tools in my everyday life. Let's just do that for now. So Gemini just acknowledged that it understands me. ChatGPT already went ahead to offer me advice, but we're not starting yet. But now we are. So starting with the editor / tone shifter. I need to send a message to my landlord about a leaking tap. I'm frustrated because I've asked twice before, but I need to remain polite and get it fixed quickly. Please draft a text message that is firm but professional. Let's see. So here you can see that Gemini both gave the answer and explained why it was good. But what we most care about is the actual message. So let's compare those. Good afternoon, Mr. Landlord. I'm writing to follow up on the persistent leaking tap issue in so-and-so. This is now my third request regarding this matter, following messages sent on this date and this date. As the issue remains unresolved, I am requesting that a plumber be scheduled to fix this immediately to prevent potential water damage. Please confirm by so-and-so when the repair will take place. I'm available, list availabilities, for access. Thank you for prioritizing this repair. Wow, that was good. Okay. Now ChatGPT. Hi, Mr. Landlord. Hope you're doing well. I wanted to follow up again regarding the leaking tap in the kitchen. I've mentioned it twice before, and unfortunately it is still leaking. It's now becoming quite inconvenient, so I'd appreciate if we could arrange for it to be repaired as soon as possible. Could you let me know when someone can come by to fix it? Thanks in advance. Okay, so ChatGPT is shorter and sweeter. There is kind of some passive aggressiveness, which is, it's okay, it works. For Gemini, it does say, following the messages sent on this date and this date. Very direct, you know. Gemini does even propose to give dates when it's convenient for us. It does also give a deadline, so it's very kind of, I'm not playing around, let's do this, you know, just as I asked it to do. There is professionalism in it as well. And if we take a look at the considerations, so short, calm tone, clear problem, clear action requested, no anchors everywhere. Gemini even said why the landlord should care, which is to prevent potential water damage. So even went like a step beyond. I don't know if it was intentional, but it was playing into why the landlord should care. So both are good. I'm tempted to kind of give both them points, but I will not. I still give Gemini. Gemini gets the point. It is more of, listen, I'm not playing around. Let's do this, you know? And I guess that's kind of what is needed in this situation. For the next example, we'll use an uploaded file. So here is a rough draft of a cover letter for a job in media. Please rewrite it to make it sound more confident and concise and fix any grammar errors. The file is uploaded. Because let's be fair, if you have a cover letter, you're either going to give it a screenshot or you're going to upload the PDF. In this case, I'm going to use a screenshot. And what I did is I found an example on the Business Insider. There's this article. You can find it there. Check it out. Just getting credit. And there's this cover letter, which is apparently a bad example, mainly because it's too long. So let's see what they have to say about it. And it's actually two different photos. So let's see if it can handle that. Okay, let's see. We'll do it faster. The thing is that I don't think this really matters. ChatGPT boasts that it does everything faster, but let's be honest, getting a good answer is much more important than having that answer in 5 seconds less or something, you know. But you know what? Let's just give ChatGPT a point for that, because we're gonna see that ChatGPT consistently gives the answer faster. So just for that, let's give it the acknowledgement that it deserves. This is a bit too long to read on the video in its entirety, but I'll just read it and tell you what I think about it. So right off the bat, Gemini used the proper formatting for the cover letter at the top already. GPT did not. Still, that's fine. We can do it by ourselves. Even gave the subject for the letter. So I guess small things like this instinctively want me to favor Gemini, just because it feels like it goes the extra mile in its answer. So I saw Gemini using things like, I am extremely motivated to join the team. Let's agree that it's a bit over the top, okay? Extremely motivated. So for reference, they both give decent answers in their own way, but in reality, we'll have a job application that's being compared to. We're gonna take in a job application from Indeed and just said, this is the vacancy that I'm applying for. And we will look at the qualifications. This is what I'm gonna mainly compare it against. So when I'm looking at the keywords, it also doesn't seem to lie about skills that it does not have, which is good. That's preferred, right? And I don't think he... So apparently in here it says that I'm good with Word and Excel. I don't think it was mentioned in the original cover letter. You just need to I guess, proofread it. I don't know how much it thought about it, but chances are a person will be able to work with Word and Excel. So assume that. If it did, interesting. Unfortunately, it didn't mention, hey, I included Excel into the cover letter and Word. Please decide if you want to keep it or not. It just included it without asking about it afterwards or mentioning it. So it does have, let's say, the qualifications. It did a pretty good job at that. Both of them did. So it's a tough call. So ChatGPT also gave some formatting advice. I'm struggling to decide. So here it gave a list, which is not as common for cover letters, but it can work. The thing is that both of these could work, but Gemini still uses these intense words like immense interest. I'm writing with immense interest. Well, that's not gonna slide. I'm a rapid learner. So it just gives these informal words once in a while that are not supposed to be in cover letters usually, while ChatGPT keeps it professional. I don't see similar mistakes. So you know what? I'll give it to ChatGPT. This point goes to ChatGPT. Next one. Using it as a life admin planner. Create a 3-day meal plan for 2 people. We don't have dietary preferences, just want to eat healthy. Want to spend less than 15 euros per dinner and hate washing dishes. So 1-pot meals are best. Please output this as a table with the consolidated grocery list at the end. Okay, so right now they look pretty comparable in formatting. Let's check out the contents. I can already tell you right off the bat, so ChatGPT did mention typical Dutch supermarkets. Prices are estimated from there, and it said what it assumed that we already have, which are spices, salt, pepper, oil, which is fair, and it's normally the case. And here it also said buy these or check if you already have these. Ooh, okay, both of these are good. There are benefits that Gemini has, which is cooking time included as well. Turns out both of them are aware, and do keep in mind that I'm in Netherlands and Holland. That's useful. Gemini at the end offered to find the best local supermarket, which I will instruct it to do. And I'll ask the same from ChatGPT, just as a follow-up. Okay, so ChatGPT can't do scraping, but it does give sites where to find discounts and everything. And yeah, Gemini also just gives sites and just general information, doesn't actually look on your behalf. I'm learning new things here. These are both good. How do I choose? Because these will both have the answer that you want and need. Because both of them work. That's the problem. Or the good thing. And the recipes make sense too. I'm just gonna give both of them a point. Honestly. They fought well. Okay? They fought well. On to the next one. So now I'll ask it to help me plan my week to balance work, health, and personal life. This is an extremely vague question or prompt to ask, and it doesn't know nearly enough information about me to give me anything reasonable. Okay. I did previously tell it that where I'm living, that I'm a young professional, so it does know something about me. Even made some jokes. The Dutch rain roulette, which is true, is very unpredictable here. ChatGPT just went for it. It just gave me a schedule. Hey, this is what you're gonna do. Gemini first asks additional questions. But to be fair, ChatGPT asks it at the end as well. But we'll need to answer them. So what I'll do is I'll just answer them one by one. Work schedule 8:30 to 6. Workload Tuesday evening, we'll have the last meeting ending at 7. Health goals. Alright, so I gave it some information about me. Let's see how good it now answers. What? So here it's 30 minutes, here it's 90 minutes, and here it's 60 minutes lunch break. So it just doesn't decide. Critical buffer, time to transition, unbind and journal. Didn't ask for it, but sure, might as well. Connect time, focus time, thought, conversation, cooking and prep. No, no, this is not good. Cooking and daily prep. So it thinks I'm gonna cook and eat for 2 hours. Thinks I'm gonna cook 2 hours. Oh no, wait. It's for Tuesday. So it tailors it for Tuesday. Never mind. Very good. And the 60-minute thing, I just realized it's specifically for Tuesday. Still, bulk meal prep. All right, and now I'm gonna answer, well, these are not nearly as in-depth questions, but I'm still gonna answer them the same way. Wake up at 7 a.m. Workouts, 3 workouts per week. Weekends, I want a mix of both. Let's see how ChatGPT answered it. So here I'm kind of like just giving them what they're asking for, and Gemini just happened to ask for more questions. Yeah, so okay, this is less useful. What I'm gonna do is just give it the same answers as I gave Gemini, because like this is not bad. It's chaotic. The formatting is different. It's just not useful because it doesn't know enough information from. Really? I've hit the limit. Huh. What do I do now? I didn't expect this. I forgot about this. I thought it was gonna take a little bit more time to reach that. So okay, let's cancel this. But I'm giving this to Gemini. I'm giving this to Gemini. Not because it still has credits and ChatGPT doesn't. But now it's quite, let's say, it's so inconvenient for me to make it into a no chat and everything. But the formatting is much more consistent here. I'm also keeping in mind that it's quite unfortunate that lunch is inconsistent. The times for Gemini, because that will make it like a clear decision. Here it's like a copy paste situation, and here it's easier to see. There's not really, I guess, the best and worst, but this is a little bit easier to look at than this, in my opinion. But I guess we're starting a new chat. So what I'll do is I'll give ChatGPT the same information I gave at the beginning about myself, just so it knows something about me. Alright, let's just continue. Let's pretend nothing happened. I have a free Saturday in Utrecht. Plan a relaxed itinerary for me that includes one museum, a great coffee spot, and a park. I want to walk between locations. Please include estimated walking times. Very useful answers. So both of them recommended different museums and different coffee places, and also realistic times, I think. Wow. Okay. Okay, I just saw this and this is amazing. Okay. Honestly, you have it in Google Maps. So if I click here, okay, when I clicked on the link, nothing happened. It just led to Google and I had to do it myself. But I can still do this. I can still click here independently and map it out that way. Unfortunate that it doesn't give me the entire route just by clicking on the link up here, but still, I mean, this is great. But yes, like Maps is a Google product. Of course they would use this. This is great. So when I look at the content and just by, let's say, walking time, it is 22 minutes, and here it's approximate minutes, but it's more. Huh. Here it even gave an extra optional ending. Walk backwards toward the city center. Alright, so ChatGPT went the extra mile in terms of recommending things to check out, just some ideas. That's nice. Gemini did it, but still, it's quite clear. Gemini is able to give you directions like this and literally just show you on the map. Here you go, and just clickable locations. So this goes to Gemini easy. There's don't even need to think about it that much. Next one. Learning and skill building. Simplifying. So this is going to be interesting because it's a very vague request. Let's see how they handle it. But teach me guitar in weekly lesson setups starting at total beginner. I know a bit how to play the guitar. If this is total nonsense, I'll be able to tell. I hope. If I won't, at least I have you guys to point out who's wrong. So let's see. Acoustic electric guitar. Okay, so week by week we see that it gives similar things to do. So parts of guitar, same finger placement, both suggest that you should do that in the first week. There's some differences, like Gemini suggests first simple song to do. It's always rewarding to be able to play something from the get-go, right? Just to have some motivation, so I like that. Still, ChatGPT just keeps it very simple, right? So it gives some general things to do. Like Gemini went above and beyond and recommended specific practices to do, to play the chromatic scale, to play a spider walk exercise, to play specific songs like Smoke on Water. So it's so far better. Yeah, you know what? So I kind of already see here they are quite comparable. They're pretty comparable in terms of what they suggest to learn each week. Gemini is going pretty fast though. Full song practice by week 4, refining technique, introducing the capo, power chords. Does this even have power chords? No, it doesn't. So we don't even need to kind of continue here, but although Gemini is suggesting much faster progression than is, I'd say, comfortable, so you need to, spend the amount of time that's literally mentioned here, maybe even more, because it's quite an ask. I don't think you can learn all of these just by doing 30 minutes per day in 4 weeks, but maybe. Give some examples of resources to use. Physical pain, even gave out the finger soreness, very much a thing. Keep that in mind, don't be surprised. This goes to Gemini. There's not even like a question. I'm not even gonna continue analyzing. If you want to use it for simple tasks, step-by-step guides, how to learn something, Gemini looks better. Next, I'll ask it to explain concepts. In this case, inflation, like I'm a 12-year-old. Use a lemonade stand analogy to help me understand why prices go up. Let's see, which one does it better? ChatGPT did give a shorter answer, but it only covered one reason, which is when there's too much demand or more supply of money to pay for that lemonade. But Gemini covered another reason, because of cost of production also going up, and that's also an important reason. So although it's longer, which is not always necessarily better, here it also kind of explains what the problem is, what the action is that causes the inflation, and the result. Gemini gets this point as well. Even though there's some aspects that ChatGPT is better, like it's shorter, gets to the point, Gemini will leave you with like a fuller understanding of the concept. Both of them still make sense, right? So it still should be understandable by a 12-year-old in this case. Next was brainstorming, coming up with ideas on what to do and just nuances like that. So in this case, I need to buy a birthday gift for my brother. He loves hiking and 80s rock music, but he already has all the gear he needs. Give me 10 unique, perhaps slightly funny gift ideas under 50 euros. Because I am in a country that uses euros. Let's see. Okay, so right off the bat, ChatGPT answered in Dutch, which is, I get why the mistake is it knows I'm in Netherlands, and there's a distinct advantage that it has, that it provides links. It actually provides links, and links in Netherlands. So that's why it is in Dutch. Wow. Here it kind of gives some hypothetical things that exist, but you still need to find them. Makes that water bottle. If I put it online, we'll actually see it. Steel reusable water decorated in the final wrap. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, it has it. But still, even if they have it, the fact that you can actually click, and it's fine it's in Dutch because I can just say, please translate to English. Yeah, so you can just translate, and it's fine. But the fact it's clickable, I just know I'm giving ChatGPT a point. We can just agree this is better. So next I'll ask very vague question again, right? So we have this mix of specific, tailored, and vague questions. Brainstorm 20 creative YouTube video ideas for AI use cases in everyday life. So both these have creative titles. They're both 20. They both have titles that look pretty engaging. But what really shines with Gemini is that the concepts that it gives are specific. It doesn't just say generate an image based on tight budget and try to source. Okay, I'm just trying to... I'm literally reading this and trying to figure out how a simple version would be. But what I want to say is it goes into details. So it mentions which AI generator to try using, what to specifically do in the video to make it into a twist, while ChatGPT explore AI-generated recipes and follow them in the kitchen. Gemini just will be much more specific. And I'm sure ChatGPT will as well. Maybe it's just unlucky kind of generation, an unlucky output. But no, it's still the same. So it still gives the same answers. So yeah, I don't know how they're gonna perform. We just asked it to give some creative ideas, and Gemini went extra mile. So I'm gonna give it to Gemini at this point. Next one, decision making. List pros and cons of renting versus buying an apartment. Gemini says that it's a dilemma in the Netherlands, North Holland, where it's competitive, so it acknowledges that it's just a complicated situation here. ChatGPT gave, again, general answers or gave general reasoning for its decisions on what it's going to include. Gemini explains specific things, requires substantial upfront cash or transfer tax, often 2% unless you qualify for exception. It just goes into detail here. Whether it's true or not, that's unfortunately, I don't know. But I do feel more confident about this answer here. Because what ChatGPT does, it gives, some principles that apply everywhere. It's clear they tried to tailor it for Netherlands, but it just didn't consider the complexities of the market. For that reason, Gemini gets the point here as well. Just that it considers the complexities. I'm reading this, I'm learning myself here. I find this helpful, and I've heard of terms like this, so it makes sense. At the same time here, these are still useful, they're just not specific, as Gemini gave for the Dutch market. Next one, strategic/tactical advice. This is something where I would not ask a generative model to give me advice. I'd rather just go on YouTube, anywhere actually, where experts are sharing their advice. Those I trust more. Those I also have, let's say, higher level of confidence that whatever they tell me is gonna be true and applicable. Here, I don't know. It didn't used to be that way. They used to give ridiculous advice. Maybe it's different now. So let's test that out. How can I scale a YouTube channel to 10,000 subscribers in 6 months? Give me a strategy. Let's see what strategy it can give me. I like that Gemini made the guess that the niche that I'm operating in is AI use cases and productivity. It did acknowledge that it's an ambitious thing, an ambitious goal. ChatGPT just was happy to help, just saying, yeah, I'm gonna do it. Define your niche. Just by the way, the way my mind works, I like the table Gemini uses better. It's easier on the eyes for me, at least. I'm trying to not let that bias me, but I just like it better than I guess what I was used to with ChatGPT. So they both kind of start with speaking a niche, defining the target audience, creating a hook. Gemini also recommends to do some research, learn from competitors. ChatGPT doesn't. That's fine. I mean, it's actually a bonus. It is fine that ChatGPT didn't, but it's still a bonus that Gemini asked to do that. Both of them do explain that you need to hook the audience very fast. They do give similar advice in general. I like that Gemini, what it does differently is it explains specific kind of metrics you should measure yourself against. For example, subscription rate, 2% of viewers convert to subscribers is a success metric to aim for, right? So it helps you understand if you're on path or not. So even if you don't reach the goal, you understand which of these things from what I did were correct and which of these things I still need to work on. Yeah, I guess Gemini gets a point here. ChatGPT did give a good idea, but Gemini, the success metrics here, it always just gives just an answer with necessary things to consider. And in this case, if I don't reach the subscriber count, I can still see why. The success metrics, if I compare it to where it needs to be, I can understand maybe where it went wrong. On ChatGPT, subscriber goal, aim for 1.7 thousand new subscribers per month. And it gives techniques or methods to use, strategies to use when creating content. Gemini just also focuses more on the analytical part, strategic part, but also tactical. So Gemini wins this. I'm pleasantly surprised. And it also assumes exponential growth that would happen, monthly milestones. ChatGPT just assumes linear growth, So on YouTube, I think it's usually like a snowball effect. So this is good. Quick answers and everyday hacks. I'll ask for 10 creative date ideas that aren't dinner or a movie. Okay, wow. Attend a live podcast, talk show, taping. That's cool. ChatGPT, I see, mostly gives, there's still things to do. Couples painting or pottery class, sunset hike, nature walk, explore nearby town. This is interesting. Make a mini wine, cheese, or chocolate tasting at home or in a park. Arcade or board game cafe. This is cool. It's a little bit out of the ordinary. Comedy show, teach each other something new. But it's mostly generic, you know? Here, vinyl hunting and listening session. I like that here specifically knows that it's in Netherlands and considers that it's in Netherlands and suggests even cities to go to, albeit like they're not specific, I was about to say, but some of these are. Museum night, late opening. What is this a thing? Yeah, it is. Yeah, so Gemini, once again, more specific, considers that we're Netherlands, elaborate answers, gives actually some credible or just seemingly different ideas to do than what you'd find in the first, let's say, top 3 searches on Google, you know? Cool ideas for a date. So let's go. Point to Gemini. Next one. This is pretty interesting. Everything's kind of interesting, but let's see how it performs. Give me clever ways to remember names better at social events. So they do suggest similar things. Repeat and confirm. Use the name immediately. Repeat in the conversation. Create visual connection. No, they're a bit different, but both these are good. It's just that Gemini does also explain why. No, ChatGPT also explains why some techniques are better than others, or not better, but why some techniques work. It doesn't, neither of them do it for all the examples. For some, they explain why they work. So the point goes to Gemini again, because here it puts it into 3 different phases of trying to remember it. So even though they have some similar contents and both of them definitely work, for ChatGPT it just seems more like here's a list of things you can do. No specific order, just try them out. Gemini gives structure like phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. It just tries to turn everything into a structure. That's interesting. And the last thing we're going to look at is simulation. This is creating role-playing scenarios where we can practice our, I guess, social skills or just practicing how to handle some scenarios. Let's see. I think it's better here if we do it one after another. Let's start with ChatGPT. So if we drag it here, more space, act as a skeptical hiring manager for a sales position. Ask me 3 difficult behavioral interview questions, one by one. After I answer each, give me critique of my answer and how I could improve. I'll ask one question at a time, then critique your response before moving to the next. Question 1. When you lost potential client or deal, what happened and how did you handle it? I'll give some ridiculous answers, hoping it's gonna tell me it's not perfect, you know. You definitely could use some work, buddy. The client was about to buy a car, and when we were discussing payment methods, they said that they can only pay with Visa, but we were only able to process MasterCard. I said okay, and suggested them to go to a different dealership. What will you tell me about this? What's strong about your answer? You're honest and transparent about the situation. You clearly explain what happened. There's no ambiguity. What could be improved? Persistence, problem solving. In sales, hiring managers want to see that you try to overcome obstacles rather than just walk away. You have offered an alternative solution, escalated an issue, or found a workaround. Learning reflection. You did mention what you'll learn from this experience or how it could change your approach next time. Yes. Good. It was thinking about aspects that weren't mentioned. Improved angle. Explain that you tried to find a solution. For example, checking in if a manager could approve a Visa payment, offering other product promotion before the deal fell through. Yes, let's continue to question 2. Describe a situation where you had to meet an ambitious sales target under tight deadlines. How did you approach it and what was the outcome? I said they were unrealistic and didn't achieve them. What's strong about your answer? You're honest about your experience and the fact that the targets were challenging. You show awareness of what's realistic versus unrealistic, but could be improved. Even if the targets feel unrealistic, sales leaders want to see that you tried strategies to reach as close as possible, like prioritizing high-value clients, increasing outreach, or negotiating terms. Simply stating that you didn't achieve them doesn't demonstrate resilience. Yes, there's no reflection on what you learned or how you improved your approach for future targets. Yeah, fair. Same problem as last time, I just didn't say what I learned. Let's do question 3. Tell me about a time when a client was unhappy with your product or service. How did you handle the situation? What was the result? Okay, here's the answer. The client hated the color of the car. I said the color is great. I liked it and explained that they weren't true. The client was no longer a client of ours. I learned that clients don't always know what they want. So there's something good about this answer apparently. You acknowledge the client's dissatisfaction and reflect on the experience. You provide a learning takeaway, even if it's somewhat controversial. What could be improved? In sales, handling unhappy clients is about listening, validating concerns. Simply telling the client they're not true and losing them shows a lack of customer-first approach. Losing the client without exploring solutions doesn't show resilience or negotiation skills. The takeaway comes across as dismissive rather than constructive. A stronger reflection would focus on how you can better align with client preferences or offer solutions next time. Show that you acknowledge the client's perspective. Offer alternative options, different color, customization, or incentives, and aim to retain the relationship. Yeah. It was very nice to me. Because these are some serious mistakes. I think after this, you're not gonna even hire the guy. Like, this is crazy. Let's see what Gemini thinks, because I've heard that it's quite strict. But let's see. So it gave some context about the manager. I see a lot of general claims about being a top performer. We are looking for individuals who can not only perform but demonstrate resilience and strategic thinking when things inevitably go wrong. We deal with high-value contracts, aggressive competitors, and clients who operate under immense pressure. We need proof that you can handle the heat. So question 1. Tell me about a time you work relentlessly to close a major deal only to have the client choose a competitor at the very last moment. What was your immediate emotional reaction? And specifically, what tangible steps did you take in the next 48 hours to secure a commitment from your high priority prospect? The client wanted the car, but we didn't have it in the color that I wanted. I was sad, but understood that that's life, and I let them leave. That response is honest, but it gives me serious concerns about your tenacity and accountability in high-stakes sales role. So it only gives critiques. That's interesting. You blame the external factor. We don't have it in the color, rather than taking ownership of the sales process. Did you ask about color preference early? Did you offer alternatives? You stated your emotion, I was sad, but failed to show how you managed that emotion or remain professional and resilient. The core question is, what did you do next? Your answer implies resignation. I let them leave, not resilience. Wow, this is direct. We need proof that you immediately pivot and refocus that competitive energy toward a new win. Oh, it even gives improved response. Let's go to the next one. This is good, all right? This is already better. You know, I'm pretty sure it's going to give the same answers, and if it will, I think we're just going to waste our time. This was much better than what ChatGPT gave, because here, when it's bad, it just tells you it's bad. And it doesn't say anything good about it, you know? If you can handle it, the critique, then this is a superior model. It gives an example of a response that you should have given as well. ChatGPT didn't in any case. So +1 to Gemini. At least for the tasks that I was giving it, Gemini was superior. And my reflection is kind of, if you want casual short answers and don't like always need to have detailed explanations of why this, why that, then ChatGPT is better. If you want something comprehensive, and that goes also the extra mile in every answer on considering things that you did not consider in your question or your prompt, Gemini is superior, at least now, 7th of December. And the free version, which is the fast one, right? So we're only considering that. Let's not generalize this to more advanced models, because maybe they are different ball games and maybe they're much, much more comparable. We're just talking about the free version. And I was unfortunate that ChatGPT has this limit. Maybe Gemini does as well, I just didn't reach it and it works differently, because in Gemini I only uploaded 2 pictures. So maybe if they have a limit, it just works differently. I do like the format, these tables, much more for Gemini. It's just, I think how my brain works. Maybe it's just a preference, like a personal preference, but I find this much easier to read and to kind of take in. It also has obviously the same format as ChatGPT does, but these tables, like once in a while, I found them quite easy to understand. I liked it also integrated. For example, if I right now click export to sheets, will it work? I don't know. But there's integrations. Even the Google Maps thing that we saw earlier, it was able to show directly in Google Maps where is each location for the getaway day, and that was very convenient of Google using its entire available environment. Gemini was more harsh. Even in this kind of last example of when you have a bad answer, it just says outright like, hey, appreciate it, but this is not it. Well, ChatGPT tries to find something good in it. This is not good nor bad. It's just, I guess, a preference, but it seems that Gemini gives some reality checks, So I think I'm going to be, from this point on, using Gemini more than ChatGPT, unless there's some things that I didn't cover and I'm gonna figure out and find out as I'm using Gemini, but it does seem superior, and well, at least for me, for how I like to talk and perceive information and everything in that regard, Gemini just feels more comfortable, more useful even, because it always gives more examples. It doesn't you can spend in total less time creating the prompt and just it filling the gaps on your behalf in the answer of what you missed. So when you're working with topics that you know very little about, I definitely use Gemini for that, because it's going to consider aspects that you didn't even know existed. At least it seems that way. At the same time, there were positives ChatGPT had, it was giving advertisements, right? So it was outright redirecting you to purchase bottles. In this case, in this example, you can just click it, and that was very convenient. If in this video you learned something new or you found valuable, please give it a thumbs up. That's the best way you can support me. Helps to get reached by more people. Hope to see you in another video, maybe even this one, where I was planning a vacation with Google's new AI model, which actually works a little bit differently than Gemini here does, and it's built for different purposes.